The Cursed Umbrella. My name is Henry. I currently work and live in West City. Before a year ago, I lived in North City. I stayed in North City for a long time, so my friends were many there. One day, my boss assigned me to work in North City, so I met Daniel, a colleague who used to be quite close at my former workplace. "Oh, Daniel, you look a little pale on your face. Are you sick? Have you gone to the doctor for any medicine yet?" Typically, Daniel is a person in good health, does not often suffer from petty diseases. This time his face looks terrible, which makes me worry a little for him. I hurriedly asked what was wrong with him. "I'm not sick, it's just that I just met some spiritual problems, so there is a lot of aura that makes my face and state not very good. Maybe in a few days, it will be fine." Daniel listened to me and explained his situation to me. When he mentioned this, he still seemed scared. "Spirituality? Maybe you met a ghost? What's the story like? Can you tell me?" "Well, you have a great life. I used to hear that people who often meet ghosts will not be able to save their lives." I was so surprised by what Daniel just said, I spit a long burst of excitement. Because I see my friend is still healthy and calmly sitting next to me, I am excited, not without worrying about my friend. Not interesting at all, my friend. It will be the biggest fear in my life. If you want to listen, let me tell it. The story is like this. Daniel saw me excitedly waiting for him to tell the story. He sighed and resented a few sentences, then reminisced and started telling me. That story happened about a week ago when Daniel just finished an important project, so he was specially given a few days off by his boss. Normally, Daniel's work is hectic. He rarely takes a long vacation to visit home. On this occasion, Daniel booked the nearest bus to visit his hometown and visit his father. Daniel's hometown is in a mountainous area. However, the small town where his home is located is quite bustling, and the roads are very nice. The road to enter the town is quite rugged and challenging to go. On a few days, it was raining hard, the mountain road was muddy, sometimes mud even sinks quite deep. The day he returned home, Daniel chose to take a bus to cross the mountain road into town. Thanks to these buses, the movement is a bit less extreme. Daniel sat on the bus and watched the scenery along the road. The mountains and the lush green trees remind him of his childhood memories in the lovely countryside. He hasn't had much free time for a long time. But his flashback was suddenly interrupted by the noises released by the bus, causing him to quickly return to reality. Looks like this bus has had a problem. It rumbled for a few hours and then stopped moving. Damn, here you go again. When the bus was in such a condition, the driver mumbled a few words while trying to start it. It seems that this situation also happens often. Restarting the car wasn't going on well. The driver struggled for a while, but the bus still stood still and motionless. After that, Daniel saw that the driver holding a toolbox got out of the bus and got down to the back of the bus. Maybe he wanted to fix it. "This bus is broken, young man. I can't fix it. I called someone to help. I think you have to change to another bus." Struggling for a while longer, but fixing the bus is impossible. So the driver got on the bus and told Daniel to change his bus to go home, and he would wait for someone to help him. It was about 4 or 5 kilometers from where the bus stopped to his house, not too far away. Daniel raised his hand to look at his watch. It was only about 3 o'clock at that time, still quite soon. He felt that the time was quite early, so he didn't wait to change to another bus. From there, going to Daniel's house only took a little time. It was not too extreme, so he got off the bus and chose to walk home. The weather at that time was very cool. The road was also dry and easy to go. Daniel walked while feeling the fresh and pleasant atmosphere, which made him feel extremely relaxed. In North City, jobs are piled up, roads are crowded, noisy. There are times when it can't be quiet and peaceful like in the countryside. But the relaxed feeling was not long before the sky suddenly darkened. Dark clouds came, signaling that it was about to pour rain. The thunderclap broke the surrounding tranquility. The dark clouds grew thicker and denser. Perhaps the coming rain would be hefty. I don't see any good things of today. All kinds of bad luck have happened. There's only a little more to come home, and yet it rains. I don't know if I can return in time before it rains. Daniel felt extremely uncomfortable. He mumbled while complaining while speeding up his steps, hoping to get home quickly. But that kind of weather won't please people long. Daniel just went a little longer, then it started to rain. Heavy rain poured down. The rain makes it dark, the road is harder to go, and the visibility is blurred in the rain. Daniel took his backpack to cover his head, walking fast while looking around to find a place to shelter. The rain was too heavy, he's afraid that he wouldn't be able to return in the rain. He was walking when suddenly he saw something black in his eye, like an umbrella. He approached and looked. It was a black umbrella lying on one side. The umbrella was neatly placed on the side of the mountain, perhaps because someone rested and left it behind. Daniel tried to pick up the umbrella to check, and he found it was still good and quite large enough to protect from rain and wind. The umbrella is not redundant at all, only slightly frayed in the handle to prove its age. Daniel happily opened the umbrella and covered his head to continue going. This sudden luck compensated for the bad luck he constantly encountered. The discomfort in his heart also decreased somehow. After going a little longer, Daniel came home. Before he got home, Daniel called to notify his father, so Daniel saw him waiting at the door when he got home. "Well, my son really knows how to calculate. You attentively have an umbrella ready in case it rains." Daniel's father happily found him coming home. He told him a few sentences in front of the house. "Daddy, your son has grown up like this, so I know how to take care of myself. Stop treating me like a child." Daniel saw his father being healthy and joking and replied happily. He thought the origin of the umbrella was not that important, so he did not tell his father clearly. After that, both father and son entered the house one by one. Daniel hung a black umbrella in front of the house to let it drain. After entering the house, Daniel hastily took off his wet clothes and took a shower. After taking a shower, they sat down to eat dinner, drink a few glasses of wine, and talk some little things together. His father knew that Daniel had just come back from the rain, so he guessed his son must be pretty tired, so he didn't keep his son talking too late. Sitting and chatting for a while, Daniel's father urged him to go to bed. Daniel was quite tired, so he slept soundly as he laid his back on the bed. Towards the middle of the night, he suddenly heard something faintly. But the heavy sleep made Daniel unable to open his eyes. Besides, he thought it was just the sound of the wind, so it wasn't long before he fell asleep again. But a while later, Daniel still heard a glimpse of that strange sound. It didn't seem to be any sound either. It was a voice full of ghostly. That voice seemed to come closer and closer to Daniel's bed. Daniel was forced to wake up by fear. When he opened his eyes, he felt terrified with what he saw through the corner of his eyes. Beside his bed, a woman was standing. "I died catastrophically. I died catastrophically." That woman looked very frightening, her blood-red eyes filled with tears. Her mouth kept repeating the exact words over and over again. Daniel fearfully tried to move to sit up but was unsuccessful. He seemed to be stuck on the bed. His forehead spilled out layers of cold sweats. After a while, the feeling of being controlled disappeared. Daniel felt like he could move. He sat up startled, his limbs trembling with fear of what just happened. Daniel turned his head wearily to look to the side. At this moment, the terrifying woman had disappeared without a trace. Daniel hopes that what just happened was just an illusion. However, the feeling of fear still lingers. His mind cannot deceive himself whether he was dreaming or mislooking. For a long moment of dismay, Daniel fell asleep tiredly. The following day, when the sun was high, Daniel woke up tired. He felt his whole body hot and cold. His heart was beating continuously, feeling extremely short of breath. He caught a fever. "Daddy, I saw a terrible thing last night. I saw a woman with bloody eyes. She looked like a ghost." When Daniel's father found out that he woke up late, he went to the room to check and knew that Daniel had a fever. Daniel worriedly told his father about what he saw last night. His father immediately felt scared. He gave him some fever-reducing pills, boiled warm water to clean him up, then hurriedly went out. "Mr. William, please come in." After a while, Daniel's father brought a silver-haired man home. It looks like his father's attitude was quite respectful to that man. That silver-haired man, surnamed William, who lives alone, regularly studies strange things of yin and yang. Although not too intensive, he has a specific understanding. Whenever people in the village are in trouble, they will ask him for help. Mr. William entered the house and did a round of checking around. He looked very thoughtful. But testing took a while, and he still did not find anything strange. "Hey, young man, what did you bring home yesterday?" After taking a while to check, but still hasn't discovered the abnormality, Mr. William immediately walked over to the bed and asked Daniel a few things. "I brought a few clothes, some personal belongings, a phone, a little money. Nothing special seems to be." Daniel thought and answered, "Oh right. Yesterday, when I was coming home from the rain, I picked up a black umbrella." As he was speaking, Daniel remembered the umbrella he picked up on the side of the mountain yesterday. "Yesterday, I was in a hurry, so I did not think of anything. Now that I think about it, the umbrella seems rather strange." "Oh, where did you leave the umbrella?" When Daniel said that, Mr. Williams' face relaxed a little, but his voice was still very urgent. "The umbrella is hanging on the pole in front of the door." Before Daniel could speak, his father answered. The look on his father's face is also quite worried for Daniel. "This kid, yesterday you didn't tell me about the origin of that umbrella, too careless." Daniel's father was worried and angry because Daniel didn't tell him about picking up the umbrella. He blamed Daniel for a few words. Okay, it's fine, don't blame him anymore. Hurry up and get me some yellow feng shui charms and follow me." William promptly spoke up to relieve Daniel. Daniel's father heard Mr. William say so. He hurriedly went to find that thing. "You can stay here resting assuredly. Your problem is not too serious. I will help you to solve that." After Daniel's father left, Mr. William moved forward and reassured him a few words. When Daniel's father found the charms and returned, Mr. William took his father out of the house. The two went to the mountain road that Daniel went home yesterday. The mountain road is relatively quiet and deserted. Typically, no people go to the mountain unless they have things to do. The two men walked for a long time. Going a little further, Mr. William made a sign for Daniel's father to stop together. Where they stood was a relatively flat and empty place. Mr. William stooped and put a black umbrella on the ground. Then he looked around, he carried a stone, and then put the stone on the umbrella. After everything was done, Mr. William took out a round pot filled with red ink inside. That red ink seems to be the ink which people use to print fingerprints. "What is the use of this, Mr. William?" "It's just ink for fingerprints only, don't underestimate it. In this red ink pot, I have added a few more things." William explained to Daniel's father the benefits of that ink pot. After saying a few words, Mr. William immediately used his hand to ink and drew some strange words on the rock. The red ink color and those hard-to-see doodles combined look weird. Quickly take out those yellow spells, and then burn them away. Oh, I will do it right away. After drawing those words, Mr. William turned to tell Daniel's father to take the next step. Daniel's father brought a yellow talisman to burn. After the charms caught fire, Mr. William made some strange hand movements and muttered something in his mouth. Maybe he's chanting something. He looks like real magicians. All right, that's it. Let's get out of here quickly. After Mr. William chanted a deep chant, the fire also went out. The golden talisman also turned to ash. Next, he let out a sigh and told Daniel's father to leave the place and return. Before leaving, Mr. William told Daniel's father to look straight ahead and follow him. No matter what happened, he must not turn his head behind. Daniel's father was about to ask something more, but Mr. William's expression seemed so serious that Daniel's father did not dare to ask any more questions. The two of them kept walking step by step away from that place. While walking, suddenly something sounded. "Mr. Lucas, hurry, come back here." The other voice was a woman's voice. That voice was full of charm but equally magical and horror. Daniel's father was stunned to hear that the other could clearly call out his name. To his surprise, he almost turned back to inertia. "Don't mind that. Hurry up, don't turn back." When there was just a little more that Daniel's father almost turned back, Mr. William spoke with a severe sudden sound. Daniel's father was able to regain consciousness. Daniel's father heard a stern voice and almost shouted in time. He suppressed his curiosity and determined not to turn his head. Behind them, the fire suddenly started burning. It took the two of them a long time before that voice disappeared. They stopped to rest a little bit. Mr. William breathed out heavily. Apparently, he had just escaped tremendous pressure. What just happened there was a ghost. Because people died unfairly became it. It will seduce the righteous and take their souls away. Fortunately, we found out that umbrella early. That umbrella was filled with resentment. William said painfully. Fighting that thing exhausted him. Daniel's father felt lucky that he was awake in time. The voice from earlier wanted to lure him back. As long as he turns his head a little, the ghost will take his soul. Just thinking a little about the worst situation, Daniel's father was sweating a lot. "How's it going? Is everything all right?" When the two of them got home, Daniel's expression had improved a bit. The aura surrounding him had dissipated a bit. "Everything has been settled. Listen to me. From now on, there are two things that absolutely do not pick up on the street. If you see it, just ignore it, do not care about it." William approached Daniel's bedside. He said everything was settled, then told him carefully a few things to note. The first thing is umbrellas. The umbrella is the object that most wandering souls cannot escape from and prefer to dwell on. They will stay inside. When someone picks up the umbrella they are staying in, they will follow that person. Some ghosts will only tease, but some ghosts will follow and harm the person who finds the umbrella. No matter what, the ghosts will make a person full of yin, weak health, easily pathogenic. Their life will be difficult to guarantee. William said Daniel needs to remember clearly these words. From now on, seeing strange umbrellas by the side of the road, absolutely must not touch like this again. What about the second one to avoid? What is it? After hearing the above, Daniel felt quite scared because of his lack of vigilance. If he finds out a little late, he will be in danger. After Mr. William finished speaking, Daniel hurriedly asked again. He couldn't wait to know what was the second thing to avoid picking up. "Ah, that's the money someone dropped on the street." As he spoke, Mr. William did some hand movements for Daniel to imagine. This second object surprised him quite a bit. It is said that when a person encounters too much bad luck, that person will intentionally drop a note somewhere along the way. Consider throwing away bad luck clinging to that person. Suppose someone accidentally picked up that note, as well as accidentally picking up other people's bad luck. In that case, this is not a good thing at all. William calmly explained to Daniel why he could not pick up money that fell on the street. Whatever it is, Daniel will remember those two things and absolutely never pick up again. He has a life lesson from that time. I finished listening and sweating, rushing to tell myself not to pick up those scary things anymore. If I do, it would be hazardous.